I guess I'm here to represent all of the American soldiers and Marines and Naval Air Force personnel who served in Vietnam, because I had the unique honor of having served with the Vietnamese forces. I arrived in Vietnam in 1966 as a new helicopter pilot. Two of us had just volunteered to come over from the East Coast and join the West Coast Marines who were already there. A fellow named Mike Carley, out of, I believe he was out of Yale University, and we entered there and they told us you better watch out for Hip Duck. We had tremendous loss of our helicopters in Hip Duck Valley, and ironically, he was my travel mate was killed flying troops in to Hip Duck Valley some months later. We were told that when we first got there that we'd be flying just soft missions, and then the next thing we were called in the middle of the night, and they alerted the entire squadron, and we scrambled and we rushed out. We picked up Marines and we flew during the night, and off in the distance there was an orange glow. It was a very strange thing on quite a black night, and as we got closer we realized that there were burning vehicles. There had been a South Vietnamese battalion that had attacked the enemy forces, and we were flying in the reinforcements. We came in with all of the machine guns blazing and dropped off the Marines, and that was the beginning. And after that we were flying ARVN troops, and they were coming in. And the ARVNs, as I'd look at them, I'd see them as they boarded the helicopter, and they were sharp. Their uniforms looked good. They were tough. They were hardened. They were ready for battle. And we'd let them off, and I'd watch them run through streams of pinkish red tracer bullets and see the mortar shells landing in their midst, and it never stopped them. They were undeterred. They were valiant. They were courageous. It was in the mid-1990s when I was asked to address a group of graduates of the South Vietnamese West Point. That's what they called it. I think we had a flag for them up here earlier. They were meeting in the Fairfax County Government Center for their international convention. It was all in Vietnamese, and I was surprised when they called me down to address the group. I hadn't prepared, and I was not an official of any sort. I'm not sure how they even knew about me, but I went down, and the way that the auditorium there is built, there are tiers, rows of seats that go up quite high, and you stand in the center of that. And as I looked up at them, they looked tough, they looked strong, they looked hard. These were the Vietnamese from the Vietnamese West Point. Some of them wore ARVN Marine and Army uniforms. Some wore medals from long ago. One of them had a Silver Star he received from the U.S. 1st Marine Division. These were the brightest and the best leaders of free South Vietnam. Almost every man there had served years in brutal concentration camps after the fall of Saigon in 1975. A general who led the final defense of the city had spent 17 years imprisoned in jungle dungeons, where 2/3 of all of the South Vietnamese prisoners, 1/3 of the prisoners had died. I spoke to an artillery battalion commander who said he had 8 children when Saigon fell. He had his wife with him, and he looked at her and he smiled. And he told me, as he held her close, how she had raised all 8 children and waited faithfully for her husband's return, and they were united in the United States after spending 10 years, 1 month, and 13 days in the communist concentration camp. So this is what I told the Vietnamese veterans at their convention. As I looked up at them, I said, I'm honored to address this distinguished gathering. You are the best and brightest, the valiant defenders of South Vietnam. Thank you for your gallant service and your courage as you endured years of cruelty in concentration camps. I fought beside you as a Marine lieutenant. My company fought side by side with your popular forces. South Vietnamese soldiers were courageous. My blood lies with theirs in that beautiful land. In May 1967, after a terrific battle, I sat beside a rice paddy waiting for helicopters to evacuate 36 Marines from my company, Fox Company, 1st Marine Regiment, all of whom had died in battle the day and the night before. We were defending the city of Da Nang, the second largest city in South Vietnam, and we fought from a ridge line at a place called Nguy Loc San. And as I waited for the helicopters from my old squadron to come and pick them up, a soft breeze ruffled the hair of one blonde-haired Marine who lay among the rows of dead comrades. It was a strange feeling because the wind made him seem strangely alive, though he lay dead on the rice. When I told some people about that, they said to me, it must have been a terrible experience, sitting among all those dead, mangled Marines. And I said to the Vietnamese officers who were there at the convention with me, I said to them, but you men who fought in those battles there can understand what most people cannot. For it was an honor to stand beside those gallant fallen Marines, the heroes of Nguy Loc San. And then I stepped back and I looked around at the faces of these men and I said, and now looking at you today, I feel just as I did that day at Nguy Loc San, where I stand in another field of heroes, you of immense courage, you who sacrificed so much for freedom. I told them, I am humbled simply to stand in your midst. Now, as I look around today and I see the uniformed soldiers of all of the various divisions and units of Vietnam, of the Navy, the Air people, the Army, and I look and I see that same group of valiant heroes who sacrificed so much, who would have won that war had they not been cut off from ammunition by the politics of Washington, D.C. You had won the war, you had outfought the North, you had fought with enormous valiance, and today I would like to represent all of the Marines of Fox Company 1st Marines, all of the Marines of the 1st Marine Division, all of the Marines of the divisions who held the DMZ, and all of the American soldiers who fought south all the way down into the marshes below Saigon. And it is Saigon and will always be Saigon in our hearts. And I look at you and I thank you and I praise you and I pray to God for the souls of all of the faithful departed who lived there and who sacrificed so much. Thank you so much. God bless you.